what's the difference for first-time home buyers between pre-approval and being pre-qualified?
So one thing to note is when you do get a pre-approval through a lender, it doesn't cost anything. So don't be scared to think that you can step forward and when you do get the pre-approval from the lender, you're not being bound to anything.
Right.
You don't have to sign a contract. You don't have to commit to that lender. It's really for informational purposes. It's just the way our industry works. The difference between a pre-approval and a pre-qualification is some lenders will only require somebody to submit a loan application and pull their credit.
Right.
And they'll say, hey, you're pre-qualified. But they don't really have all the information that's needed for a thorough pre-approval. There's so much that can pop up on a pay stub or bank statements and things like that, that if a lender does not look at all of your documents up front, you don't really have a official pre-approval.
Right.
That's what you need, especially if you're going to step forward and make an offer, because oftentimes a listing agent, we will talk with them up front, and the listing agent will always ask me, have you looked at have you looked at the borrower's documents? Have you looked at their bank statements? Do they have the money in place? Does their pay and their tax returns support what they put on their application? And somebody who doesn't collect the documents will not know that, and that could end up blowing a deal.
Yeah. And so how far in advance would you suggest somebody filling out an application or setting up a meeting ideally?
Well, as soon as possible. The pre-approvals are good for 4 months.
Okay.
So 120 days from when we run the credit report, as long as you settle within that time period. It doesn't mean you're going to have to redo the whole loan.
Right.
If you don't find a home, or let's say you have a contract, but the closing date's outside of that, it would just require that we update the credit report. And then you might have to update a few of your documents.
Right. So that's always good to know ahead of time too, because I think when people get asked for that, they're like, oh, well, I thought we were all done, right? How long does it take to get pre-approved?
Well, we would like 24 to 48 business hours. So that's why we like you to do it ahead of time, so that if you do end up seeing something on the weekend and you love the house, you're not, jumping through hoops on the weekend and hoping that, everybody can kind of come together to get that done for you. It also gives you time to ask the questions and understand the numbers ahead of time. So just get it done ahead of time, and then it's easy. Once you do find a home, we put the letter together, and then we update an estimate for you so you can see the numbers as they would be tailored to that house.
Right. And I always suggest to my clients that you have the address and the specific amount that you're offering. I know sometimes people will get these blanket letters when I'm a listing agent. I'm like, oh, they can afford more. That's great.
Yeah, because that doesn't help help the buyer too much. Yeah, exactly.
When I'm on the buyer's side, I never let them
that's
put
smart.
more. Any other disclosures for the pre-approval that people have to sign or that you provide?
No.
What if somebody loses their job or their financial situation changes? How does that impact?
That can obviously impact the loan greatly. We base whether somebody's qualified to buy a particular home on them being able to have income, and we're assuming based on their job that they're going to have that income for 3 years at least. Situations change, obviously people change jobs, but that's what we have to base on. So if all of a sudden the income goes away and it was the only income we were using to qualify you don't have a way to make the mortgage payment. So you definitely need to tell us when anything changes, even if we've pre-approved you and in the meantime you've decided you're going to get another job.
Right.
We need to know, and think of your lender and your realtor as we're working together with you to help you get a loan. So we're going to find out, the lender, we're going to find out anything.
Right.
So better to tell us up front, then we can usually come up with a way to work with it. And also if something changes and you're still within the contingency dates on your contract, depending on how that contract is written, you're going to want to tell us in case, you need to get out of the contract if you don't have your job anymore and the lender can't give you a loan. If there are two incomes and somebody loses a job, then it may not impact the loan at all.
Right.
So if you're deciding that, you want to buy a car or put together some debt that wasn't on the original credit report, we need to know that too. So ultimately what I would leave with is just tell your lender everything right up front. Do it as early as you can, when you want to buy a home, and it'll just make for a nice process, and a process that's not intimidating, which is really important.
Right. Well, I always say if you have bad news, get it out. It doesn't get better, right?
No.
When you hold it in.